Good day, I am Jessamay Salvador Estanda, Bachelor of Science in Criminology 2B. And I'm going to present the selection of core and delta and a loop type pattern. So to start, focal points within the areas of loops and whirls are enclosed the focal points, which are used to classify them. These points are called core and delta. So, core is structure in the print that is in the center line or lines of the print. It is important for conducting ridge counts, and it is also known as inner terminus. Delta, a point in the loop and whirl prints that lays within an often triangular, three-pronged, or funnel-shaped structure. It is the part of the ridge nearest the point where two parallel ridge lines diverge to flow around the loop or whirl. A loop pattern have one delta, which is the starting point for conducting a ridge count, and whirls have two or more, which are important for determining the whirl type, and it is also known as the outer terminus.
There are rules in determining the core and the delta. The first rule in determining the core: first, the core is placed upon or within the innermost sufficient recurve.
So I have an illustration here. The core is located at the innermost sufficient recurve, so the core is located here, this one.
Rule number 2: when the innermost sufficient recurve contains an uneven number of rods rising as high as the shoulders, the core is placed upon the end of the center rod whether it touches the looping ridge or not.
So in rule number 2, we have here three rods, rod 1, rod 2, and rod 3. And the core is placed at the center of these three rods. So here, this is the core.
Rule number 3: when the innermost sufficient recurve contains an even number of rods rising as high as the shoulder, the core is placed upon the two center rods, being treated as though they were connected by a recurving ridge.
In rule number 3, so we have here rod 1 and rod 2. You treat them as they were connected. So you can draw an imaginary recurving ridge connecting the two rods. This here. And going back to rule number 1, you place the core at the innermost sufficient recurve. So this one. This will be your core.
Rule number 4: when there are two rods in the center, the one that has the higher shoulder line, the upper point of that ridge is considered as the point of core.
In rule number 4, when there are two rods in the center, the rod 1 and rod 2, the one that has the higher shoulder line, we have the higher ridge and the core is located here at the end of it. So this is the location of the core.
Rules of delta. First, the delta may not be located at the bifurcation, which does not remain open towards the core.
So let's say there are two bifurcation here and here. Then we're going to choose the one that is facing towards the core. So this one is facing towards the core. So this is the delta.
Rule number 2. When there is a choice between a bifurcation and another type of delta, equally close to the point of divergence of two type lines, the bifurcation is selected.
So let's say there are a lots of delta formation here. There are short ridge, dot, and a bifurcation. We are going to choose the bifurcation as a delta. So this one is the bifurcation.
Rule number 3. when there is a series of bifurcation happening towards the core, at the point of divergence of two type lines, the bifurcation nearest to the core is the chosen as the delta.
In rule number 3, we have here a series of bifurcation. So let's say there are 3 bifurcation here, here. So what we're going to choose the bifurcation that is in the nearest core as the delta. So this one is the nearest in the core. So this one is our delta.
Rule number 4. The delta may not be located in the middle of the ridge running between the type lines toward the core, but at the nearest end only. The location of delta depends entirely upon the point of origin of the ridge between the type lines toward the core.
In rule number 4, let's say this is the point of divergence is in here. They are facing each other. So let's say there are ridge running between in the middle of the type line here. The short ridge could be the one of the delta formation. With that, we're going to locate the delta in here. And that's the end of my video presentation about the selection of core and delta in a loop type pattern. Thank you for watching. Have a good day and God bless.